I was not expecting to be sitting here today on Monday, February 6th, making this video about Kyrie Irving being sent to the Dallas Mavericks. Because when the news broke on Friday that he had requested a trade, I thought it was a bluff. I thought it was cap. I thought he was full of poop, for lack of a better term, only because you cannot curse in YouTube videos in the beginning of YouTube videos anymore. So much like when we had the whole Kevin Durant trade request back in the summer, right? I was adamant that it was a bluff and that KD was only making this trade request to basically tell the Brooklyn Nets, the organization, the front office, the players, everybody to get their stuff together because they have to contend for a championship. He's healthy. Kyrie was healthy and present with the team before, of course, everything went down. Ben Simmons was going to be healthy. You had another year of Nick Claxton. You had Joe Harris, Seth Curry, all these guys. And KD did that as, to light a little bit of a fire underneath them. And that's what I thought Kyrie was doing because he requests this trade. The news breaks that him and the Brooklyn Nets had failed to come to a long term extension. Now, if I had to guess, the details of that negotiation have not come out. They probably won't ever come out. But if I had to guess, Kyrie wanted that full 4-year max extension that Brooklyn was not willing to give him. They either presented him one of two offers. They either presented him a short-term contract, like a 2 years guaranteed, plus, a team or a player option or something like that, or they offered him a longer-term deal that was incentive laden, which was ultimately very disrespectful to a guy like Kyrie Irving. Now, I thought that this was all a bluff because if you're Kyrie and you know that you're just going to leave in the summer and test free agency, why even request a trade? Why allow this organization, whom you potentially feel disrespected by, to bring something back for you? If you're a player who is, acting in spite of the organization, wouldn't you want to leave them worse off than when you arrived? That for me was kind of like, okay, why is he doing this? If anything, it would have been the Nets coming out and saying that, hey, we're looking to move on from Kyrie because we weren't able to come to an extension. So that was a little goofy for me. So I just thought that whole sequence of events was kind of odd. Also, another thing is that, as the weekend progressed and you saw more and more teams, getting into the fray, there were the Lakers, of course, because the Lakers have always been linked to Kyrie Irving. The Clippers entered the fray. You had the Phoenix Suns, you had the Dallas Mavericks. What also doesn't make sense from Kyrie's perspective is that this Brooklyn Nets team offers him the best chance of winning a championship of any of the other teams that were interested in him. He's not getting traded and going to Boston. He's not getting traded and going to Denver. He's not getting traded and going to Milwaukee. He's not going to any of these teams who are already solidified as contenders. And the Brooklyn Nets, a healthy Brooklyn Nets team, is one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. Could potentially win a title. And he's also balling his ass off. Like, that's another thing about Kyrie Irving. Now, as I've talked about in the past, there is no morality in sports when you're trying to win a championship. And Kyrie Irving is a lot of things. He's sometimes an idiot. He is sometimes problematic. He is sometimes injury prone. So there is a lot of pessimism surrounding him, kind of off the court and getting onto the court. But one thing that is undeniable is that Kyrie Irving is one of the most elite basketball players in the NBA. Unrivaled skill set this guy has. He's averaging like 27, 5, and 5, shooting. It's got to be close to 50, 40, 90. I didn't check this. I didn't check his percentages before coming on, but he's always been this highly efficient volume scorer who is one of, if not, he's one of the best point guards in the NBA today, and he fits well on this Brooklyn Nets team. So him going to Dallas, which I love this, by the way, which is the result of Joe Tsai not wanting to send him to the Lakers, just, to kind of like spite him, I guess, which I think is awesome, is it one thing that I cannot deny is that trading Kyrie off this team no longer makes the Brooklyn Nets championship contenders. The trade package that they received was Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, one first-round pick in 2029, I believe, and then two second-rounders, one in 2027, one in 2022. I thought originally that it was two firsts for him, plus Spence, plus DFS, which is why I was like, okay, this trade isn't isn't that bad. You know, that's market value for Kyrie Irving, you would think. But no, the only team that offered the Nets a 2 first-round picks were the Lakers, and the other offers that they were given were really not the most. They really weren't the most shiny offers for the Lakers, and this is courtesy of at official NBA Buzz on Twitter. Y'all can see it right here. The Lakers offered him Russell Westbrook and 2 firsts. The Suns came in, threw in Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, and an unspecified amount of picks. Then Dallas with Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, 1 first and 2 seconds, and the Clippers, who probably had the worst offer of these 4 teams, with Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann, 1 first-rounder, and 2 first-round pick swaps. So that would have been the only reason that I think Brooklyn would have gone with that offer, is if they were in full blow up mode, which they clearly are not. Because although Brooklyn is no longer a contender, Spencer Dinwiddie is playing pretty well right now. He's giving you what, like 18 a night. Granted, the shooting efficiency could be a little bit better, but he's never been the most efficient guy in the league. Dorian Finney-Smith is also having kind of a down year as well. Pretty much just everybody on the Dallas Mavericks is not playing up to their potential this year, except for Mr. Luka Doncic. Now, I don't think that Brooklyn is done here. I think that if I'm Joe Tsai or if I'm Sean Marks, and you have these picks, you have Spencer Dinwiddie, you have Dorian Finney-Smith, what's stopping you from calling up the Chicago Bulls and inquiring about Zach LaVine? What's stopping you from calling up the Washington Wizards, inquiring about Bradley Beal? What's stopping you from calling up the Portland Trailblazers and inquiring about Damian Lillard? Bringing in one of these other secondary stars who is, at least in regards to Damian Lillard, for example, who is as talented as Kyrie Irving, but less problematic, let's say. Let's also say less injury prone than Kyrie Irving is. There is less uncertainty with him getting onto the court than there was Kyrie Irving. That is something that I think is very likely, because everyone knows that this Brooklyn team is a little bit worse off than they were before, because when you part ways with somebody like Kyrie Irving and you don't land someone of similar caliber, you're going to take a step back. It's just, it's, you're trading for lesser parts. Now, I don't really know how I feel about this from Dallas's point of view. I think that I think the Mavericks have an affinity for just constructing some of the worst defensive backcourts of all time, because Luka is a shit defender. Okay. I know that he's been better from previous years, but this guy is not playing. My voice cracked twice in 35 seconds. I'm 26 years old, by the way. This guy is not playing a lick of defense. Also, probably because of the fact that he has to average like 35 a night and have this usage rate of 35% or whatever. Kyrie Irving is a negative defender as well. I don't really know how their relationship is gonna work, because when you had Jalen Brunson, you could bring him off the bench and lead the second unit. You could start him alongside Luka Doncic. He was fine playing off the ball. I mean, Kyrie is fine playing off the ball as well. He spent his entire career playing off of LeBron and playing off of KD, so I don't think that's an issue. I'm very curious to see what the shot breakdown is like, and I'm very curious to see how quickly Luka gets the ball out of his own hands, which could be something that he's welcomed, because this is not a sustainable load for Luka Doncic. It is most certainly not. I do, however, believe that Dallas is not a contender after this. I really don't think that anyone in the Western Conference outside of Denver is a contender. Dallas is still very short on the bench. I mean, and you're also trading away Dorian Finney-Smith, who is an elite defender, regardless of how good or bad he's been from the perimeter this year. I mean, again, Spencer Dinwiddie is a talented player as well, who's been playing all right, but Tim Hardaway Jr. is not playing that well. You're still very deep. You're still very shallow on the bench, as I already had mentioned. And plus, I just don't think that they match up well with any of the other teams in the Western Conference. They sure as shit do, even if they were able to get to the finals. There is no way that this Dallas Mavericks team goes up against Philly, Milwaukee, or Boston and wins in a 7-game series. No way. I don't think any Western Conference team is beating any of those 3 teams in the East in a best of 7. I simply don't foresee it. Now, another thing that's been a topic of conversation is what provoked Dallas to make this gamble. You have Luka. You have this generational talent. You have him locked down for the foreseeable future. I'm just gonna look at his contract real quick. So you have him on a 5-year supermax, which expires at the end of 2026, 2027, which of course Luka has a player option for. So Kyrie does not necessarily have the best reputation when it comes to being a locker room guy, when it comes to being, a guy who is, as I had already mentioned about him being a pain in the ass at times. People are now beginning to open up a discourse about, well, is Dallas the next franchise that Kyrie is going to blow up? Because he blew up the Cavs, he blew up the Celtics. He seemingly has blown up the Nets, although it remains to be seen what actually happens with this team. Is Dallas next? Is this a five-head play by Sean Marks to send Kyrie to Dallas to get under Luka's skin and request a trade and potentially send Luka to the Brooklyn Nets to play alongside Kevin Durant? I think that is a pipe dream. I don't foresee that happening, but I could very well see that, maybe Luka and Kyrie don't get along so well. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It remains to be seen. But yeah, ultimately, people have been asking me how I feel about this trade. It is not as groundbreaking a deal as I think it is. It did take me by surprise. I'd be lying to you if I said I got the notification on Sunday or Sunday or Saturday. I can't even fucking remember. It was such a crazy weekend. Um, I'd be lying to you if I said that I got the notification and I wasn't surprised. I was like, holy shit, it actually fucking happened. He got dealt. Kyrie Irving was traded from the Brooklyn Nets, and now it leaves just Kevin Durant. So, yeah, I guess that's my take on it. I don't really have anything more to add. Um, I will say, 100%, I will miss watching Kyrie play basketball every night, even though I had to watch through the fucking Yes app, which is the biggest pain in the ass. All the things I said about him being a dumbass and being, a pain in the ass sometimes, true. But listen, when he's on the court, there are a few guys that are better than him. I'm just very curious to see how Dallas's integration with him works. And again, this is a massive gamble for them because things could go entirely astray. So we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm excited to have Spencer Dinwiddie back in Brooklyn as well. I thoroughly enjoyed his time here. One thing I am curious about is I wonder how much of this trade forces Brooklyn to rework their offense because when Kyrie and KD were there, it was a lot of isolation. It wasn't, it wasn't an offense that Golden State ran back in the day. It wasn't an offense like how Boston runs from time to time. It was just very, KD and Kyrie heavy, which is come to be expected. But now you do have a little bit more opportunity to, I guess, get away with certain things, even though you don't have the same caliber of scorer with Spencer Dinwiddie. Um, so yeah, we'll see. Ultimately, I don't think Brooklyn is, I don't think I don't think they lost the trade. I think it was a relatively neutral deal, but ultimately, I think we'll have to reassess that after the trade deadline and after they've had the opportunity to potentially flip Spence and DFS and these picks for, again, a guy like Bradley Beal or Zach LaVine or Damian Lillard or somebody like that. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this one. That's my take. Go ahead, leave a like on the video, comment, subscribe. All of that helps the algorithm. As always, thank you guys so very much for coming to tune in today. The podcast will be back to normal schedule for anyone who is listening to that. Also, if you're not listening to that, Hedging Screens, wherever you listen to your podcast, it's all down in the description box below. Hope y'all enjoy the rest of the week. Stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, and I'll see y'all in the next one.